What's up guys? We're gonna take a break from the normal gameplay videos and do some good old ranting about, you guessed it, things that suck in Bloons TD Battles. However, I'm not going to be talking about the common topics that everyone's already complained about the most, namely things such as the leaderboard, the meta, the medallion inflation, yellow stadium bans and noobs, or the wizard. Incoming triggered 11-year-olds from those last two I mentioned. But yeah, instead of tackling those big ones, I figured I should go after the more obscure features that I may have mentioned before but should make for some more interesting discussion, as I'm sure by now you've heard all about my hollering over leaderboards and whatnot. So let's start, shall we? Number 1, the wheel. If you've heard me talk about it in any previous video, then you'll know why I listed it here. If not, then let me explain. Months ago Ninja Kiwi added this wheel as a way to get new players to gain more medallions and keep them reeled into the game by giving them the incentive to log in for free stuff every 8 hours, I presume. Sure, not a bad thing. Almost every mobile game has one of those daily reward features just by users playing or opening the app, like BTD 5 for example. But the difference between that and this game is medallion gain is basically exponential when you're comparing a newbie with 5 medallions versus a guy like Eric Lowe or Marwan with over 50 million. In BTD 5 hardly anyone is going to have any more than a couple tens of thousands of monkey money, so that extra 100 a day from daily rewards is at least somewhat significant. But this wheel is just worthless to anyone who can afford BFB and boss arenas and is good enough to maintain those medallions. Like on this wheel, Rainbow Ruins is by far the best reward as it's worth 500 medallions. Farmer comes second at 100 medallions, and the rest are all below that if you don't have club access. If you're at the point where you've already unlocked all towers, this feature is basically worthless. Cause the players who actually need to spin this wheel for medallions are probably bad enough at the game that they'll lose it all in arenas anyway, you know what I mean. Like even if you got a free Crucible entry and got a free win because someone disconnected, it's not going to mean much if you can't continue winning and driving that medallion count up. But that's not my main point. I just really want there to be an incentive to spin this shit for higher level players. So my suggestion is simply to have multiple reward tiers depending on the player's current medallion count. And that's it. Just give BFB or boss entries for the top tier players, multiple monkey farmers, and higher medallion counts if that's the only reward they can give. Now some of you may be against that because that'll drive up medallion inflation even more, but it seems Ninja Kiwi have no problems handing even more medallions left and right through clans, so really how much of a difference will this make? If they're that worried, then I think pushing back the time limit from 8 hours to 24 would be a decent compromise. What do you guys think? All in all, it's a fairly minor problem and maybe too minor to be complaining about, but hey, did I not say I was going to target obscure features? Number 2, boss arenas, more specifically the question of why some of the maps are so fucking long. I'm looking at you, Vortex Storm. I've been complaining about this since the start, and I'm still searching for answers as to why. Why? The most expensive arena in the game, so you would expect them to throw out difficult maps to challenge the best of players, but nope. Joke's on you guys. Here's a Battle Park 2.0 for you to go #epic late game on. And with the buffs to Ninja and Mortar and nerfs to Dart, I think this makes going farms almost suicidal on this map. This footage was taken way back when it was released, by the way, if you're curious on why the farms. Eco is most certainly king on this map now, and with how easy Cobras can be countered with Eco, that option's out of the question. But yeah, icing on the cake is they put a nice tub of water in the middle so everyone could use the perfect sub spot, making every rainbow rush and below completely irrelevant. Hell, even Blooneria Swamp is slowly falling victim to becoming an eco-dominating map now, at least from what I've seen. Same with Dread Bloon Cave and to an extent Blastopopolis, That one is probably the most difficult out of the bunch, but that's not saying much because I've seen Eco being viable on that map too. This is the kind of difficulty maps you would find in freaking Lead Dungeon, for crying out loud. Even the 5-medallion arena featured map Super Monkey Lane is harder than all of these. If anything, at least one of these maps should have been on the level of Hydro Dam / Indoor Pool / Zen Garden. I mean, it's not like noobs crying about short maps will be an issue, because only players good enough to accrue 35k medallions will be playing. But it's too late for them to change the path thing, I assume. It's not like Hot Tub where they could just cut out one loop from the balloon paths. They would literally have to redesign the map art-wise if they wanted to make it more difficult, and it's not happening. So we'll have to live with these super long maps for the rest of this game's existence. Number 3, the Bloon Chipper. And number 3A, Card Battles. Now I don't mean to say the game mode itself sucks. It can definitely be a fun mode and a breath of fresh air once in a while. What I mean to say is the lack of attention Ninja Kiwi is giving to this game mode is a pretty big downer, and is part of the reason of the inevitable downfall of cards and why nobody really cares about it now. I definitely saw this one coming from the start. I mean, with an entirely new game mode comes a new meta and a lot of constant changes required to make things balanced as new cards come into creation. Seeing as Ninja Kiwi hardly even made balance changes to the classic mode at the time of this Card Battles release, there was nothing in my mind that would make me believe they could handle updating 2 game modes at once when they can barely handle one. And the first balance change only came 3 months later in patch 3.8, when me and Tyler exposed Card Battles in the mega tournament with an unbeatable farm, build income and sent 5 ZOMGs meta. Good on Ninja Kiwi for taking action on that, but had I stayed under the radar with that strategy, I doubt they would have even considered making nerfs. And guess what? 7 months later nothing has been changed, not a single bit. Cause everyone is too focused on balancing classic battles in the past months. And if nobody in the community suggests card changes for Ninja Kiwi, well, they ain't gonna touch it even if some things are in obvious need of a buff or nerf. Like damn, there's still a lot of shitty cards that remain obsolete, like that 0-0 Super Monkey card, but because no one in the community is telling Ninja Kiwi to buff it, Ninja Kiwi won't do it because they can't balance on their own. Ouch, harsh words there, but you know it's true. Let's take a moment to talk about veteran cards. 28 of them were added after its initial release, all coming in at a pace of 1 per week, which lasted 28 weeks. The last new card probably came in around late 2016, and since then nothing new has come in. And it doesn't look like they plan on adding anything else in the near future as well. So that's over 4 months since the last change of any kind for a game mode left in the dust, and that makes it hard for anyone to get attached to becoming a Card Battles god. Okay, maybe they didn't care about making this a competitive mode, fair enough, but you're gonna not find any dedicated players if you don't update it because it's going to become stale at some point. They would have been better off not making this mode altogether, honestly, to save the effort of having to maintain the game mode and use that precious time to work on other features in the game. On a semi-related note, I'm surprised they haven't released a new club arena since its release back in 2015. I guess they thought 5+ combo clubs was enough, which is a fair reason to not add anything new. But I guess it's just one of those things they could have done to fill in the stale void instead of adding a new mode altogether. Alright, I think that should about wrap this video up for me. That is 3 things that I think suck in the game. Feel free to object otherwise though, because it's all my opinion, though I do hope the rationale makes sense. Like, I'm not sure what other game has daily rewards that give 0 incentive to a good chunk of the player base. And it doesn't make sense to me for an exclusive high arena map to be as long as a yellow stadium map. And who would disagree that Card Battles need some content or more balance desperately? Is it 10 minutes yet? Almost, Kappa. Hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more of similar stuff like this, then I'd be more than welcome to do so, cause there's not much else I can do for the near future. Have a sucky day.